Okay, the Prime Minister has finally come to his senses or succumbed to pressure, and he's arrived in Alice Springs to witness firsthand and speak to those on the ground about the out-of-control crime that is plaguing the town. Pressure is mounting on the Northern Territory government to reimpose alcohol bans, which the Chief Minister says will not happen. But it's clear the problem goes much further than that, and there's unlikely to be any quick fix. Meanwhile, what does the government want to talk about? The Voice. Maybe not. The polling out today in 9 newspapers shows Australians' support for The Voice has fallen from 53% to 47%. Joining me now to discuss this is Indigenous leader and No to The Voice campaign boss, Warren Mundine. Warren, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time. It's clear what the priority needs to be when it comes to Indigenous issues right now, and it's certainly not The Voice, is it?
Mate, you know, Marion Scrimgeour hit the nail on the head the other day, and until she got beaten up by her Labor colleagues to get her back on board. I know Marion very personally. She is an incredible person who's trying to stand up for her constituents. No one can justify what the federal government and what the Northern Territory government have done in this area, because the numbers are just not only frightening, they are just too frightening. You're looking at alcohol sales going for the roof, you're looking at violence and going for the roof, and crimes going for the roof. And it's not, but Alice Springs is just the tip of the iceberg. You go across Northern Australia, you go to Townsville, you go a number of other places across Northern Australia, and you have the same thing happening. And it just shows, it makes me sick in the gut actually, that this pressure that had to come out of a Ben Fordham interview to get the Prime Minister to finally get up there. And yet here was the bloke who loves Aboriginal people so much that he wanted to talk to them and give them a voice. And yet he took so long, and he had to be over 12 months to be dragged screaming to Alice Springs.
Warren, you said it makes you sick in the gut. It makes a lot of Australians sick in the gut who have been talking about these problems for a very long time in the hope that people would respond and do the right thing. So this hasn't happened overnight. Unfortunately, the debate and the discussion shut down because the Greens and others say, oh, you're racist for raising these issues. But what can we do? What do you see as the key issues that need addressing in some of these remote communities, some Aboriginal communities, and it's not limited there, some of the communities where young people are running amok, whatever their colour?
Well, look, we've been fed lies. The biggest lie, because I sat at the table when the cashless debit card was brought forward by Prime Minister Tony Abbott, and I was at the table with Malcolm Turnbull. I just can't believe that they're sitting there saying the cashless debit card is racist against Aboriginals. That card is non-discriminatory. In fact, we made sure that you pick a region where the card was going to be put in place. It had to be everyone who was on the dole and in those welfare payment areas. And so you had to be, if you're black, white, pink, green, purple, whatever colour you are, you were on that card. So the first lie is stop lying. It was non-discriminatory. And the other thing is, people focus on that 20% about alcohol. We designed it so that 20% of, say you got $100, you can spend $20 on alcohol. You can do what you like, depending on you can drink whatever. The most important part was the 80%, because that ensured that kids got lunch, breakfast and dinner. They got proper groceries and veggies and fruits. That they got school uniforms. That they got they got transportation to school. They got a whole things that were focused on kids so that they could be safe and have a normal life like the rest of Australians. And people have forgotten that. They were ideologically driven because they didn't want to agree with these type of cards, and that the fact of the matter, it made a difference in those communities. And Aboriginal people in those communities, when the cards was told that they were going to get rid of them, they spoke out They wanted the cards to stay, especially the women, because they knew what was going to happen. Within 24 hours, when they got rid of the card and they brought the grog in, it was like a perfect storm. Within 24 hours, grog sales in Alice Springs went up 300%. Crime went up something like 56%. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out what the problem is. So that's number one. Number two is what we were focusing on when I was chair of the Prime Minister's Indigenous Advisory Council, and that is you need to have investment and get jobs. And how do you get jobs and investment? Is have businesses that are profitable and commercial, and who will hire people, and you need to get kids to school. If you get those together, that's like an umbrella for all the other issues. You got skilled workers, you got healthy people, you resolve a whole wide range of it. And this is, as I said, it's not rocket science. This is 200 years of what tells us to lift people out of poverty and to lower crime rates. But when you let kids and you emancipate women, you take away their rights and parents' rights, and the kids can just run riot, and police can't do anything about it. You tie their hands behind their back. This is the result you get. And now I don't care about politicians. All I care about is those kids, those women, and people in those communities.
Yeah, and that's all we want to see is these issues resolved. Warren Mundine, your voice is a very important one, and so keep speaking up, telling the truth. One day, the Labor Party might start to listen. I hope they do. Thanks for joining me tonight.